If you're looking to smile, look no further than my next guest. I'm so happy to have New York Times bestselling author Annie F. Downs. How are you, Annie?
Hi, Sammy. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm really glad to have you. I mean, there's so many things that I want to talk to you about personally. Okay. You just finished a month-long sabbatical, or a Sabbath, I guess is probably a better way to put it. Before we kind of get into some of the new things you have on tap, can you just tell us like how that was and what led you to doing that?
You know, in January, we decided as a company that we all were going to take a break together in the summer. It is normal for people to take weeks off and time off in the summer, but what happens when 2 people are gone and 3 people are there is everybody builds lists for everyone else. And I just was not interested in us building lists for each other. And so we said from the beginning of the year, hey, we're all going to take these days together so that we are all resting, so that all of our brains are kind of off. And I was gone a little bit longer than everybody else. So everybody else came back last week. I came back this week. It was great. My prayer going into it, my hope going into it was I didn't need big revelations from God. I didn't need these big experiences. I needed sleep and slow days. And so even as I was coming out of my days off, I was reflecting and going, hey, God, I don't know if I have these big revelations. And then I went, this is why I journal. I went back and looked at what I actually had written down for what I hoped for. And I was like, oh, well, we did that. We did that. Okay. So I got to do some really fun things, got to see some family. I mean, just like with everything, Sammy, there were some beautiful, restful days, and there were some really sad and hard days. Our family's going through some things. And the beauty of having days off of work is I get to go be with my family and help us process some things. And so it was everything. It was one of those, and I got COVID. And so you also get sick for a couple of days. And, you know, it was just everything. It was everything. It was a cornucopia.
That's when you raise your hands up, right? Like, whatever, like, Lord.
All right, God, fine. I see you.
Okay. So I have to ask, if I was to do that, I feel like it would take me at least a week to train myself not to check email, not to pull out the calendar. How long did it take you to not do the things you were trying not to do? Does that make sense?
Yes. I allowed myself to keep Instagram on my phone for about 5 days after my last work day. So I finished up the work week, and then I still had Instagram on my phone for about 5 days, and then I took it off and have yet to really jump back in. You know, the interesting thing, when you leave a thing that you probably have too much relationship with, when you leave a thing that probably isn't the healthiest relationship, you aren't in a hurry to get back to it. And so I feel
like you're talking about more than social media there too. Just putting it out there.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm probably the same about Oreos, but I do realize that, I mean, I think a good revelation for me was that I don't miss social media as much as I thought I would. I missed some of the relationships, but also my life got very close and quiet and private. And I could reach everyone that I could reach with my phone numbers. Wow. And there was something about it, Sammy, that I'm trying to figure out, like, how do we live in both worlds? I don't know.
That was my next question. I don't expect you to have a good answer, but raising teenagers, especially, and as someone like you and I, that this is part of our work, you can't completely. So where is that balance? Are you finding yourself do a weekly check, a day, an hourly check? So you know, where's that? Because you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say, but it does become all consuming. And sometimes you don't realize that until, you know, I take my teen's phone away for the day, or until we do a self-imposed Sabbath.
That's right. So I'm figuring it out. And I think that's one of the things. I mean, I talk about this in Chase the Fun, and then That Sounds Fun, of like the joys of being an amateur. And part of that is allowing yourself to learn and adjust and change. So I'm not making myself start this fall with, I've got all my rules in place of how I'm going to do this. I'm going, okay, I'm noticing how peaceful I feel, and I'm noticing how connected to my community I feel. How do I bring back a part of my job that I do really love. I mean, I love the connection of social media. Some of my dearest friends live around the world and I see their lives on Instagram. And so I think, and I'll tell you the other thing, Sami, that I'm really processing. I'd be interested in your thoughts too. When it comes to our own lives or our teenagers' lives, is I want to be in places on social media that bear good fruit. It doesn't mean all the fruit has to be good, but I want to be in places where I'm going, this is making people's lives better. And I do not see that on Twitter, and I do see that on Instagram. So I'm like, I'm done with Twitter. It doesn't bear good fruit. And so I don't want to be places that don't bear good fruit. So that's easy for me because I'm an all or nothing girl. So nothing is fine.
And for me, that's TikTok, because I love to dance. I love a good DIY, but I don't have time for it all. And I know where I can't get sucked into. So for me, I know I have to be on social media. I can't be on all social media. I'm not a Pinterest girl. I'm not, so I agree. I think let's not be everywhere to everyone and then not really be good for anyone.
That's it. So that's exactly right. So that's what I'm processing too. Like that's my amateur learning is how do I figure out how to do the parts that I feel like bring life and that I'm gifted at and that bear good fruit, and how do I have boundaries around it too? Because even actual farmers don't tend their gardens or their fruit trees 24/7. And so I don't have to do that either with where I'm growing good fruit. And so how do we figure that out? That's what I'm figuring out. I mean, I live alone, so I'm doing some boundaries of like, I don't check my phone before a certain time. I don't check my phone after a certain time. So I have some of those boundaries, but I'm still figuring out what does it look like in the work day when I could be on a lot.
That's good. Hey, you alluded to your new book. Will you stick around? Can we talk a little bit more about Chase the Fun? Okay, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Annie F. Downs.